Hey guys, thank you very much for coming. Our continuing series of trying to help the coaching profession, trying to make guys better at it, giving newer and hopefully helpful information. The International Coaching Clinic is something that we strongly believe in. Clearly we have, you're able to see the domestic coaches. The game is not sterile. It just doesn't happen in one place. It's all over. So what are the influences? What are things that you can take from each part of the world and try to add it to the game and make it a better game, make you a better coach, make it a better team. The three people we're going to have today have all spent important time in Europe in their foundation, and they're formulating a lot of their coaching philosophy. And one of the things we're interested in, what did they take from Europe and bring to the U.S. that helped them with their success and their ability to not only, do good things here, but get the players buy-in. What are some of the things that Europe provided, whether good or bad, but it allows you to develop a more cohesive philosophy about what you're trying to do as a coach. So I've got Rick Karl out right now who will be introducing each of the coaches, and Rick has a strong background with every one of these guys up here. He's been beat my own time.
Oh, many times.
Thanks, Warren. Thanks, Albert. Let's give Warren and Albert a hand. These guys are great. Bill, come on for a second, please.
Hey, can we stop this until Scotty comes in? We can't do anything for him.
Even he walks in this game from. This is Bill Burke. This man is a true living legend, and tomorrow evening he is going to be honored with the Tex Winner Lifetime Impact Award for assistant coaching. Bill's career is 55 years, 52, 51 years. Okay, and 45 of the 51 have been with the Los Angeles Lakers. And just to show you how kind of staying power this guy has. He's worked with 17 different Lakers coaches over 45 years, which is an amazing accomplishment. So I just want to recognize Bill. And Bill out in the lobby, and he goes, "Hey, look, we can get this going. I got to go out and scout games." But we appreciate everything we've done for the game. When I was a player at the University of Maine back in the fall of 1979. We were getting ready to play somebody at the University of Alabama or something like that. I'll never forget, there was a scouting report on my coach's desk. It was called Bird Confused. And I remember opening it up and I was very fascinated. And that was one of the first things that Bill did, was run a scouting service. And then that parlayed into an amazing career with the Lakers. It's an amazing career in the game. So we thank you for your contributions. I appreciate it.
You're going to let me say something?
Yeah, let's say something.
Assistant coaches are always, they always say assistant coaches should be seen but not heard. So finally I get a chance to say something. I'm honored and proud to receive the Tex Winner Award, especially I was nominated by the committee, and the committee is composed of my coaching peers who I competed against in my 45 years with the Lakers. And so being selected by them is especially gratifying. I want to thank all the coaches that I've worked with and all the players and the NBA Coaches Association and the Los Angeles Lakers for this recognition. Like you out there, basketball's been the architect of my life.
Not looking 82 years old, just an amazing career. Our first speaker is a guy who is going to be a Hall of Famer sooner than later. George Karl has impacted the game at many different levels. He was a terrific player. Played at Carolina, played in the ABA, played a little bit in the NBA. Got his start, I believe, with the Cavaliers in the NBA. Ended up going over to Real Madrid for a couple, 3 years, whatever it was. And then made his way back and has become a high impact coach on so many different levels. I think for me, and a lot of us that know George and have coached against him, he's maybe the best I've ever seen at getting his players to flow and just play the game. He lets these guys, he opens them up so that they can just play the game and just be themselves. And well over 1,000 wins, and soon to be a Hall of Famer, the great George Karl.
Okay. I don't know, Warren gave me a call a couple months ago and said he wanted me to come talk to you about my European experience and kind of relate what I like to do today after I was trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about was kind of the evolution of the game of basketball. Where it was, I graduated from college in 1973. Some of you guys in this room and ladies weren't even born in 1973. But I think international basketball, am I doing something wrong?
Yes. Hold on, just turn it up a little bit.
You want me to get a mic?
Yeah, we can.
You want me to do a mic? Yeah. I don't know if you... Hello, we're good? But I really think my attachment to international basketball started in 1972. Anybody remember what happened in 1972? The USA team got beat by the Russians in the Olympics in Munich, Germany. The next year, the Russian team came to America to play the USA team in America. Bob Cousy was the coach, and I was a player on that team. And we played them 6 times in America. And I think they beat us once, and we beat them 5 times. And that's my recollection at the beginning of kind of USA giving basketball to the rest of the world. And maybe the rest of the world had caught up to American basketball. The next year, 1973, I went to China and played on the USA team in China. At that time, I think Gene Bartow was the coach. I think we played 8 games in about 23 days in China. We were the second American team or American delegation into China after 40 years. The first team was a ping pong team that went in before us. So very early in my career, I always enjoyed international basketball. The next year, the beginning of, I think, my coaching career was 1974, my rookie year in pro ball. And Larry Brown took a USA team to Russia, and he asked me and Doug Moe to be his assistant coaches. And that's where I kind of started learning about coaching, because Larry Brown was really my first coach that gave me responsibilities on the court, and also scouting responsibilities and game preparation responsibilities. And we were in Russia for like 21 days. I think we played 6, 7 games. And we won more than we lost, but we got beat by the Russians a couple times. I know a guy by the name of player that won, made the layup in the USA 72 game. Alexander Bailoff beat us 1 game in Russia. So I've always had interest in international basketball. And then, after my career ended, I started coaching under Doug Moe. And then he got fired. And then I went to Montana Golden Nuggets, which was in Great Falls, Montana, CBA. And somehow, some way, the Cleveland Cavaliers picked me out of Great Falls, Montana, and I became a head coach in the NBA at age 33. For you all to get off to a bad start, my start in Cleveland as a Cleveland Cavalier coach, I started 0-9. We beat the Atlanta Hawks, and then I lost 10 more, and then we beat the Atlanta Hawks. And I was 2-19 in my rookie year in NBA coaching. Not a very good start, but I tell the story of that because it was probably my most fun year of coaching because we made the playoffs that year. And someone reminded me yesterday that he watched the first playoff game I ever coached was against the Boston Celtics in Boston Garden. And we lost 123 to 120 in a very close game, and they would go on to win the NBA championship. But basically, I'm telling you that the international basketball and then getting involved in how to become an NBA coach. You know, the one thing back then was you had to search out opportunities to be a head coach. In today's game, I don't think enough assistant coaches try to be a head coach. They want the process to be, if I do a good job as an assistant, someone will make me a head coach someday and then see I might be a good head coach. And not enough guys, in my opinion, go out of their way and try to be a head coach. Now, coaching in the summer league, 4 games or 8 games or whatever you coach, that's a good experience. But it's not the same experience as being the head coach for a whole season. So, I get hired at 33. I last 2 years. Don Nelson is really my mentor. He kind of helps me get the job at Golden State. I last 2 years at Golden State. I get fired. So I'm 36, 37 years old. I'm not real grown up, but I do have a lot of passion for the game. I have a lot of energy for the game. I have a lot of desire to be a good coach. But my immaturity, my ego was a little bit out of control. And I had a way of saying stupid things to the wrong people at the wrong time. I still do. But what happened was, I was sitting in Santa Barbara with a friend named Kobe Dietrich. And he was saying, what are you going to do, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I just want to coach. And so the Albany Patroons called me. I went to the D-League. At that time it was called the CBA. And I wanted to be a head coach. My first chance to pull any triggers being the boss in the CBA was a great experience. After that year of learning, trying to figure out who I was as a coach, what I wanted to do, how I wanted to play. I always was a Carolina guy. I always wanted to play fast. I always wanted to play pressure defense. But the NBA, I had flaws in my game. I was copying people. I was stealing stuff from people. I really didn't know who I was. I really didn't know what I wanted to be, how I wanted to really coach. I was all over the map. I was a young coach, had some success, but in the same sense, I was making a lot of mistakes. And then Warren McGarry calls me up one day and says, would you be interested in coaching in Spain for Real Madrid? And I wasn't real in love with the idea. I had a young family, I had 2 young kids. You had to kind of talk me into it a little bit, didn't you? A little bit along the way. But the one thing good about it, the money was good. The money was good. Actually, the money at Real Madrid was really good. So I decided to pick up my family. Took my family, 2 young kids, I think. I think Kobe was 5, and my daughter was 9. And we go off to Madrid. And we're coaching, I think at that time, probably the most established club in Europe. But they were floundering. All of a sudden, Barcelona had won the Spanish championship. All of a sudden, Real Madrid wasn't the best in basketball. And they were searching for a savior a little bit. They want to search for a guy that could save it. So when I went over there, it was there's a saying in psychology, a saying in motivation. You got to get out of your comfort zone to learn and evolve. You got to get out of your box. You got to get uncomfortable. One of my favorite books is a book called Braving the Wilderness by Brené Brown. And I was going into the wilderness. I was going to Real Madrid, searching for who I wanted to be. And I go into a country where I don't speak the language, can't communicate. I have my family with me. And it was crazy. We had 2 players on our team. One was named by the name of Fernando Martin and Drazen Petrovic. Petrovic was on the team, and they didn't like each other very much. I would probably say it's a little stronger than that. They probably hated each other. So your 2 best players, for the first 6 weeks of my training was, how in the hell are we going to get them together? I don't speak the language, I don't know their culture very well, and the energy. Well, what I learned in my experience of going to Europe was the experiences of what you had to do as a daily coach. Going through the communication without knowing the language. Going through a management that you never know what they were going to do. And then your 2 best players not getting along. Now fortunately, Real Madrid, there's only probably, at that time, like 4 or 5 teams could beat Real Madrid in any game. Most of your games were easy wins. But the whole thing was, in Real Madrid, when they asked you your record, it was a 1-word answer. The record was 2 or 4. And you were supposed to win every game. And so your record was how many times you lost. So, 4 losses. But in October, Warren works out a deal to get Petrovic to come to Portland. And so, one of my problems was solved. Petrovic goes back to America to play for the Portland Trailblazers. And now we bring in another player. But all the thing comes along. It's 2 months later. This is the 30th anniversary of Fernando Martin being killed in an automobile accident in the middle of the season in Spain. So Fernando Martin, on the way to a basketball game that we were going to play, he got killed in an automobile accident. And those 4 days of my life are really, really interesting. I learned so much a little bit about me, but also a little bit how the game of basketball isn't life. And it made me grow up real quick. So our 2 best players now are gone. And we go on that year to learn, how to communicate, how to build a staff, how to build a scouting procedure, a preparation in a foreign country. And there's a lot of highs and lows that go through this process. And so what I'm basically trying to explain to you is that I had to grow up, and I did, because of the experiences that I went through in Real Madrid. Now we can talk about the culture. Their culture is better than ours was at that time in America. They trained their players. Their youth programs were much better than our youth programs. But the game of basketball is the game of basketball. But what I want to relate to you is getting outside the box and learning to coach on your own in a foreign country was extremely good to me, extremely valuable to my mental toughness, my perseverance, learning my passion for the game of basketball. And it all came because of crazy things that happened in Spain. I get fired at the end of the year. I apologize to my voice. I get fired, and I go back to Albany, New York. Again, I go back to the CBA, minor league basketball, with the experience of living in Madrid for a year. And I would say that was the year we decided to try to break a record in the CBA. Bill Musselman had the record for 48-6 was the record. And our goal that year was to break that record. And we went 50-6. But and then the next year, I'd go back to Madrid. And those 4 years of my life, other than my 4 years at the University of North Carolina, were the greatest foundation of how I now coach basketball. I learned more in those 4 years, not in the NBA, but trying to go outside the box and then challenge yourself to break a record of 48-6. And motivating, inspiring the personalities of how to put together a team. The one thing that I think Europe taught me more than anything else was you got to communicate. Now, I'm not the easiest guy to get along with. I have a way of being a little blunt, a little direct. But in the same sense, I think communication is very, very important to what you do as a coach. And how you communicate, being in Europe, you had to communicate individually, one-on-one. There was not, a lot of coaches want to have a blank slate that everybody gets treated the same way. I don't think you can treat everybody the same way. I think you got to relate to every player on their terms. They got to have an ability to communicate with you. And to do this in Real Madrid was very difficult at times because of the language barrier. But it can be done. It can be done. So I think communication is extremely important. And then the second thing I learned is you got to motivate your staff. And when you have 2 Spanish coaches, no American coaches, 2 Spanish coaches, a Spanish physical therapist, a Spanish trainer, you got to organize your staff that you're always together. You're always working and connecting with each other. And the team feels that you're always on the same plane and the same togetherness. And then for me, the big thing about my maturity of understanding that European basketball was really good basketball. Respecting the game of basketball, even though it's played in Europe. The coaches over in Europe were very talented. Some of them are different. I played Mike, I think we played against your team. And the game went into overtime. And I finished with 4 players playing. We found out my guy was still in. I was playing in a EuroLeague game in Brussels. And it was a home and away thing. And the game ends in a tie, and everybody walks off the court. Like, what the hell's going on? Well, we got another game, so the game continues back in Madrid. So I didn't know that. I learned so many things about basketball. And as a coach, you always want to be in control of everything. And the truth of the matter is, you're not in control of everything. There's a lot to the game of basketball. There's a lot of things that you don't control. But as a coach, you want to be in control as much as you want. And that's kind of where I learned to be a little more into trying to develop what I call flow basketball. I learned in Madrid to play fast. To play fast with a bunch of guys at that time that didn't really want to play fast. I knew that I wanted to play fast because I like North Carolina basketball. That's where we played fast. I went to North Carolina. When I was in high school, we played fast. I always wanted to play fast. And so I started to learn a little bit about who I was because of my experience in Europe. The culture of the refereeing. If you think the referees suck in America, they are twice as bad in Europe, maybe 3 times as bad. And I don't know if Mike would agree with me, but some of them are being bribed. I think they're being paid off. I actually had a referee thing that the referee came up to me. If you took me out to dinner, you get more calls. What? That's a true story, but that's amazing. But what's funny about all this was my second year. I don't know, where's Kobe? My son's here. And I don't know if you remember on New Year's Eve. I don't know if you remember we went to dinner. And I told my family at New Year's Eve dinner that I'm done with pro basketball. That when this year's over, we'll go back to America and I'll try college basketball. Rick Majerus, my friend, was going to hire me as an associate head coach. And I think he was actually thinking about coming to UNLV to be a coach here. And so that was January 1st. I tell my family, I'm done with pro ball, we'll finish it out here, and we'll go back to America. 10 days later, Tony Kukoc, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Jerry Krause was the GM of Chicago. Calls me up and says, I'm coming to Madrid. Can you put a presentation together on Tony Kukoc and Sabonis? Because I want to come over there, I want to see what you think of them, and we're going to scout them. I said, sure. I met him at the airport hotel. Spent 2 days with Jerry Krause. Had a great time talking basketball, loving the game and all that. About 2 weeks later, Warren calls me and says, would you want to come back to America and be assistant coach for Casey Jones in Seattle? The problem was I was making, what, $250 tax-free?
More, George, more. Don't sell me short. Kids talking.
I was making like $275,000 tax-free.
George, we haven't finished the statute of limitations yet.
And I had to go back to be Casey's assistant for $100,000. I said, oh, okay, let me talk to my family about that one. But I said yes, I would come back. But Casey and I did not know each other. I said, Casey has to call me and want me. Casey didn't want me. They continued to go on about 7-game losing streak. And some reason Bob Whitson called and said, would you want to come back to be the head coach in Seattle? And I took a big cut there too, right?
But it's a candle to the sun. The importance.
Yeah, I came back. I came up 250 for 275 for like 175, which is cool. But it's what I learned in Europe when I came back. Was the one thing I control as head coach, and I think this is really the only thing you control, is in the gym. What you do in the gym, that's what you control. That is your sanctuary. You are the leader in practice every day. Now, if you want to talk to the media and try to figure them out, you want to try to play politics with the front office, you want to get into personnel, you want to get involved with contracts, you can have an opinion. But the bottom line, what I learned about Spain was what I could have an impact of was coaching the gym. Coaching in the gym was mine. 2 hours of the day, that could be mine. And then what I wanted to do is one thing Coach Smith always believed is get better every week of your job. As a basketball player, it's your job to get better, and as coaches, it's our job to make them better. And so when I got back to Seattle, Bob Woodson was the GM, mentored me to keep my mouth shut and do what I do well, and that's go in the gym and coach basketball. And that's kind of the beginning of who I've become. We had the Amber team in Seattle that was underachieving. Came back, had 2 great point guards, Nate McMillan and Gary Payton. And my one thing I now live by, anybody who knows me, is don't coach a game of basketball without a good point guard. I don't know how you win without having a good point guard. I tell this to high school coaches, I tell this to college coaches, Kobe and I went to visit Phil Jackson this year. He still believes in the two-guard front. I don't believe in the two-guard front. I believe you need point guards, and then you need passing at every position on the court. But all I'm trying to believe is the game of being a head coach, one, the Spanish experience gave me the experience to experiment a lot. I didn't know anything about zone when I went to Europe. I tried to tinker with zone a little bit. I still don't think I know anything about zone right now, to be honest with you. But I know zone messes me up. Tips that mess you up? I mean, I think zones mess you up. I don't know, it just doesn't, you don't have as much control when you play against zone. Take care of zone. I don't think in today's NBA, enough coaches play zone. I think you should play more zone. I think there's opportunities to kind of disrupt the flow of the game with defensive zones. In Europe, we put in a box and one. And it was fun. It was a fun defense. We did it. We did it because we were better than most teams we played. But they liked doing it. And I think any time I learned a little bit in Europe was make the game fun. Try to make the game fun. Don't make it rigid. Don't make it rough. Don't make it tough for the players. Make it fun for your players. And hard work can be fun. And so I think that's another thing I learned in Europe. And then another thing I think, as a coach telling another coach, don't be afraid to take chances. Too many coaches don't have the courage to be bold in a game. Too many people want to be, they're afraid of, they're going to be criticized. You're going to be criticized no matter what you do. You know, there are going to be people who like you as coach, and there are people who will not like you as coach. But I don't think a lot of coaches have the courage to take chances. And I think in Spain, we were a good basketball team. We could take chances, and I like taking chances. I think, one of my conversations when I talk to coaches in the NBA today is, where is the game going? In 2013, when I was in Denver, we led the NBA in scoring. And there were probably 5 teams in the NBA playing fast at the time. Now everybody plays fast. But 6 years later, the NBA has changed from kind of a controlled, possession-oriented basketball game into a game now everybody plays with pace and tries to play in the open court before the defense gets set. So now where is the game going to be 10 years from now? Where is it going to go? Is the big man going to get back in the game? Is there going to be more zone? There's going to be more college coaches come out more of a factor. Where is the game going to go? And this, in the summertime, this is what you do. You think about these things. Everybody thinks about what can we do maybe that no one else has done for a long while. Because everything has been done in basketball. We steal from everybody. We manipulate someone's offense. We tinker a little bit and we call it our offense. We take a defense. And switching now is a big thing in the NBA. Everybody's going to switch. How do you beat switching? Is there going to be more switching? Is someone going to play zone the whole year? I think it's going to happen. I think you're going to see things happen in the NBA. And I think it's good. At motivating yourselves to find answers in situations that make you a better coach, that are fun for your players, and to motivate your players to play hard, play together, and get better every day. This is a big part of the game of basketball. Why don't we let me drink a little water and answer a few of your questions real quick if you've got some. And then I'll get back to concluding up one time.
I'm going to take the hand mic just as, I think, see if that's working here.
Hello?
You hear it okay?
Hello?
Because I'll bring this around if you have a question. Anybody got a question? Here we go. Stand up, sir, everybody can see.
You were talking about the flow of the offense and how important what do you do and how do you handle with players nowadays that are very individualized? The agents tell them they're already worried about their next contract, they need to score. How do you basically deal with ball stoppers and still trying to get the flow of the offense going?
Oh, man. Well, my progression of playing fast has gone in a lot of packages. There's secondary breaks. Coaches like secondary breaks. I don't think secondary break is flow basketball. I think ball movement and attacking the defense and creating defensive mistakes. What I've always been amazed about is every player I ever coached says he likes to play fast. And about 70% of them don't know how to play fast. They say they want to play fast, but the commitment to playing fast is every possession thing. It's not when you want to. It's not when you have an advantage. It's every possession. The game of basketball has changed. 10 years ago, we ran plays almost every time down the court. Now we play what we call flow or secondary actions of ball movement, the draw and kick game. And one thing I didn't mention is I think when I went to Real Madrid, the Yugoslavian teams were ahead of us in the draw and kick game. That they were ahead of us in the use of the three-point shot. And that was the beginning of kind of, when I went to Carolina, we played passing. Today's game of draw and kick, whatever you want to call it, the gap game or the dribble drive game, it's kind of a passing game motion. By attacking the defense, trying to create a mistake, and then keeping the defense in recovery. Keep the defense in recovery as much as you can, where concepts don't play a role. Our whole thing in flow is we want to play fast, but you can't play stupid. So when you play fast, if you have turnovers and bad shots, you should be playing stupid. I believe that stupid loses more games than smart wins. And so the San Antonio Spurs to me has been the prime example of they are a smart basketball team. They've been the same team for almost 20 years. They don't beat themselves. And so when you play fast, you gotta talk constantly about spacing and shot selection. And a bad shot is a mistake. A tough shot is a mistake. If you're covered by two players and shoot the ball, you're stupid. And so, you just talk a lot about shot selection and flow. And yes, you come out and you throw it, you got a wide open three. With 2 seconds on the shot clock. 20 years ago, that was a bad shot. Today, it's a good shot. And that's you always want to create flow. In today's game, everybody, the three ball is the thing everybody's taking. I still think you got to attack the rim first. Our saying when we were in Denver was love the rim, like the three. Love the rim, like the three. And anytime that we had the rim, we made sure that we always attacked the rim. The game says attack the rim, and then try to find the three along the way.
Thank you. Hey, Coach, what's your philosophy of the game is going to positionless basketball? What's your philosophy on all of them?
Positionless basketball? I like it. By the year I was in Albany, we went 15-6. We had 6'7" point guard. We had Vince Nash and Mario, about 6'6" at the wings. And we started 2 6'8" guys at 4 and 5. And we switched everything. Now it's a bad way to play. But in the same sense, I think we all got to maybe figure out the big man too. Is the big man obsolete? Or is the big man still a necessity? I don't have a lot of answers for the big man right now. The way the game is refereed, the way the game is played, I don't know how you get the big man back in the game. I think you can get the big man more touches, but I don't know if you're going to have more efficiency by scoring in the low block. As a long time, 30 years ago, we all wanted the low block. Now the low block doesn't exist. I think positionless basketball is where the game is going to go in time because of the switching. And I think also just because you want more speed and athletics. Size is losing its importance. Speed and athleticism is gaining importance in the game of basketball.
Hey, no, Coach, quick question. I know on the other side of the world, coaches come first. I know in the NBA now they call them players. So how do you deal with that when you know the front office will always back up the player first, not the coach? I know in Europe and anywhere else, the coach's word.
We're at the end of the.
Right, you know what I mean?
Watch that street.
Oh boy. Want to help me with this one? I'm going to tell you what I believe. When I was a very young coach in Golden State, I went out to lunch with Bill Walsh, football coach. And Bill Walsh told me in that meeting that 90% of NFL teams cannot win a Super Bowl because the organization isn't together. The one thing I admire about the Golden State Warriors is I think their organization is together. Their ownership, Bob Myers, Steve Kerr. Now, I'm sure they have their disagreements, but you don't feel them. As where other organizations, you read about them in the newspapers. Last couple of days, we've had some craziness going on in the NBA. Craziness. And the one thing I like about the LA Clippers is I get a feeling their organization is together. Steve Ballmer wants to win a championship. Lawrence Frank and Doc Rivers have been through a lot of battles, and they're together. Their coaching staff is committed and together. I think Toronto did that a lot this year. And what I'm trying to say to you is, yeah, coaches are losing their power, their influence in the NBA, but they're still very, very important. And the organization, if they respect their coach, and the coach can respect the owner and the organization, they have a step up on everybody else. There's too many organizations, too many teams that are divided, that are separated by whatever, contracts, coaches, playing time, not playing young players. I mean, there's a lot of things that management and coaches have problems with, but they're not unworkable. And I think management's got to understand, the more they're together with their coach, the better the coach will be. And when the coach can support the organization, the better the team will be because of it.
One more question.
That was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
So the champs kind of maybe take a step back and watching one basketball, how much pressure you might have had. What other stuff do you think you would use as a coach to get a chance to go back? You mentioned the zone. Anything else you'd like to see?
Say that again?
Like you said, the zone, something you would see teams use more. Maybe you would use that to get a chance to coach
Get you
again.
step back from the game and you can see it.
Now it's your chance to see maybe that pressure that you used to have. What else would you use in tactical, strategic?
In the NBA,
Yes.
my belief right now, I asked the question, where has pressure defense gone? Where has aggressive defense gone? We all have given in to the shot clock. One of my best things about my coaching career, when I got back in Seattle, when I got back and coaching in the NBA, I would take Gergridge. I think Gerg's here somewhere, he's probably hiding in the corner somewhere. And we played pressure defense. We tried to lead the league in steals. We double teamed them. People will say we double teamed the coach. I mean, we would double team anybody. And we've gone away from that because of the fear of the three ball going in. But I really think there is an opportunity in the NBA right now to become more aggressive
with the defense. Trusting that you're going to give up. Some nights you're going to get beat by because of the concept. But, I mean, when I went to Carolina, we played pressure defense. And there were a lot of colleges that played pressure defense. Even in college today, because of the shot clock, there are a lot of colleges playing pressure defense. So I think that would be one area. And then disrupt the flow of the game by playing more zone and maybe gimmicking the game up by a box and one or a diamond and two or a triangle and two along the way. The only problem with that is in the NBA, no one's practicing anymore. And all those things need a little bit of practice to be effective. So how do you figure that out? I don't know. I mean, I know I have a lot of friends who are now coaches in the NBA that say, we don't have enough practice time. The NFL is the same way. You talk to NFL coaches, they say, we don't know how to tackle anymore because we don't have enough practice time. So there's a little bit of give and take going on with, what's it called? Time management or load management. I have no idea what that concept is, but now we're got rookies in summer they're taking days off. I don't understand this. It's not crazy, but
Me neither, George.
physical therapists, analytics, all that stuff are good for the game, but sometimes I don't understand what they're doing. So long way.
All right. Well, on that note, we end.
It's a great call.
Both George and our next coach have been the two best guys that I've seen enabling players to play, to get the flow, to let go, to play free, and all those kinds of things.
Squeeze in, create a little room. Okay.
Things that some of the things that you may not know about Mike D'Antoni, he was drafted in the NBA, played in the ABA, and then had an amazingly impactful career in Europe. Just looking at his record, as a player, he was a part of 11 different championships in about a 14-year career in Europe. So he's one of the greatest. He's got his number 8 as a retired player. He has Milano. He's one of the 50 greatest contributors in European basketball history. And then we were lucky that he came back here because today's game, as great as today's game is, in my opinion, and I believe this would be true of a lot of the guys that are here, Tibbs, Coach so Steve, Eric, there's a lot of other head coaches here. Mike's had the greatest influence in the present day game of anybody. When he got to Phoenix and took a risk and did something really different, that changed the game forever. So let's please help me welcome a guy that's had Hall of Fame impact, Mike D'Antoni.
Just real quick, George touched on so many things that kind of paralleled my life. We graduated the same year. We're in the same Olympic trials. We coached against each other. I think I was a player when you were coaching in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't remember that they beat us with 4 players. Yes, I understand the guy with the mic last and line against. So, anyway, what a great coach. And a great player. I'm going to go real quick through a timeline and then get the questions quicker. I do better with questions, whatever you need to know. I don't know what's important, what isn't important. We talked about the influences of coaches. Coaches lasted in the NBA with the team 2.4 years now. And that's probably a lot of the problem, the turnover and stuff. We got so many great coaches, but he's right. When management's not lined up and there's been out-star players you can put in there, if it's not all lined up, you're in trouble. And you don't really get to coach, you won't reach your potential that you're able to. like I said, I graduated in '73, went to Marshall, and at Marshall, because the coach is an accumulation of all your experience, and I don't know what comes from where or who is more influential, who isn't. I don't know. You get to a certain point, you make certain decisions, and you try to go with your gut, but at the same time, your gut might be wrong. Now they got analytics to help you, and it should help you. I'm a real believer in analytics. It's not everything. It's not even close to being everything, but it makes your decision process better, if that's possible. And so I rely on a lot. And if my gut and analytics are different, then I've got to do some more studying, some more talking, some more examining. Why do I feel differently? Management's saying this player's good, and I'm saying he stinks. What's the deal? Is it me? Is it us? Is it someplace in between? And you try to get to a rational decision and do the best you can, and then go forward. So I came through Marshall, and that's my first experience where we overachieved at Marshall. We were good players, not a great team, obviously, but we got up to 8th in the nation at one point my junior year, playing with a 6'5" center. Our 6'10" guy shot, back then I don't think we had threes, but he shot outside, and it was we played fast. And so, as George did in North Carolina, you kind of have this in your mind. You go through the NBA, I played in the NBA, got cut 2 or 3 times, I was on the bench. Had one coach, I'm at the Spirits of St. Louis, and Joe Mulaney is probably in the Hall of Fame, should be. Great coach. He's up on, so we're playing, and he was a yeller and scream. No one would sit near him. We didn't have assistant coaches back there. If we had one, he was on the road probably. So all the players would be in about 4 seats way down there, and he would be here because he always grabbed somebody. What the hell is he doing to him? What's he doing to him? So everybody's sitting down there. So one time we're playing, he comes down, it's going bad. Spurs of St. Louis, we had an unbelievable team. You guys probably know the story. But Moses Malone and Marvin Barnes, we had them all. We were all crazy. Well, I wasn't crazy, they were all crazy. So anyway, so they're playing, it's going bad, and he's looking, he's cussing, he's yelling, what the hell's going on? And he looks down at the bench, and he goes, y'all can't play either. I'm sitting on the bench. So how you treat your players or the confidence you give people goes a long way. I wouldn't recommend that. But I came through that, got cut. Matter of fact, I was cut. They kept George in San Antonio. Probably the best thing ever happened to me because I go to Europe. Europe was everything for me. I grew up as a person. I went over and I think I was 26, 27. Lived in my basketball world. I practiced every day. That's all I thought about. All I did growing up. I would study and practice. That's it. But when I got to Europe, everything opened. The culture, the people, the learning a different language, playing with guys from back then in Yugoslavia, or Russia, or the Americans coming over. And I was able to just grow as a person. Just get, culturally, mentally. How to deal with people, how to deal with languages, how to not think that Americans do the best thing of everybody. I went over thinking, yeah, we do the best basketball. And you find out, no, their concepts are even better than ours. And a lot of things just opens up your mind. And I was able to play about 13 years. I remember one time as a coach, when I first started out, I go into a meeting with our president, and things went well the first year, as they usually do. And the president goes, now he's 95 years old of our team, and we've been through a lot. We won championships together, and it was all great. And he goes, Mike, you have a lifetime contract here with Milan. And I'm looking at him and going, is that your lifetime or is that my lifetime? Because it's a little bit different. Obviously, it was his lifetime, it wasn't my lifetime. So, but anyway, just Europe, how they did things and how they communicated. And I learned that, you can be all serious. And, basketball, I grew up, you got to be tough. And, coaches are, we're kind of in the same box of just about how they talked about, you get your game face on. You can't laugh after you lose. I don't know, just all these concepts that I played with probably the toughest, meanest guy ever, competitor, Dino Meneghin, an Italian guy. It's in the Hall of Fame. But he taught me, we would be running out for a championship game, and he's stripping guys coming out, laughing in the locker room. And then he went out and was able to concentrate and play as hard and mean as anybody I've ever seen. But then again, basketball, not trying to take that to our team. Once we step inside these lines, it's the most important thing in the world. What you would do, who you would have to run over, you do it. You get the job done. But once you're outside the lines, it's just basketball. And there's other things in life, and there's other things, your relationships, and how you treat people, and how you talk to people, and how your relationship with even with the press, who nobody likes. In the sense, I like the people personally, but you have to also understand their job and what they do. And you can't get offended by it. And you can't read the stuff, first of all, because it makes you a bad day. But I learned in Italy, they will attack you in Italy like crazy. They get personal with, so I learned at an early age, my wife, anybody negative, out of your life. Anybody that wants to come in and say, did you read what they said about you in the paper? Out of my life. I didn't want to know, so when I see the guy, I didn't read his stuff. I say, hey, how you doing? They either thought I was incredibly thick-skinned or completely clueless, and I was completely clueless because I did my job and I was able to make better decisions because you don't go in all screwed up in your head. And some of it seeps through. You hear some of it, you hear some of the criticisms, but you just try to stay, whatever your star is, you go right to it. So in Europe, I was able to real quick, and just how I got to my philosophy probably. Again, a lot of coaches who played with Doug Moe, who was up and down like crazy, and he was a big influence in college experience. But when I got to Europe, I got the coaching job, 39. I just quit playing. They called me up, got lucky. The coach they wanted didn't want. He didn't want to come back, Coach Peterson, and I got the job. So now I'm coaching guys that I just played with. One thing I do remember, the first time I talked to them, because I was, players. I go into the locker room and I'm talking to the guys, you got to play harder, and I'm doing all this coach speak, telling them, you got to do this, you got to do that, and what I've heard for 20 years. And then I walk out the room, and as soon as I shut the door, I come right back in, I go, now I know what y'all say. Because I just said that he's full of shit, and you guys will get it done. So I get it, and I understand that, and that's kind of, I know how players think, and I know how you need, you try to know how you need to talk to them. And everybody's different, what Coach said. Every player's different. I learned early in Europe, you don't have rules. I don't have rules, because the rules, somebody's going to break them. And if a guy's scoring 25 points, he breaks the rule, I got a problem. If he's, and I tell guys, they come on the bus, hey, I'm waiting for James Harden. We're all going together. But if a rookie comes in, I might leave him. But I'm not leaving James Harden. I'm not leaving Chris Paul. But I'm not crazy. And it's just the way it is. And if you're honest with them and say this, you got to earn your stripes. And they're going to win your games. I'm going with those guys. But again, get back. So my second year, my first couple of years in Milan was good. We got to the finals, didn't win. We got to be right in the finals. So I'm in my third year. I've got probably one of the best point guards I've ever coached, Sasha Djordjevic from Serbia. And then Antonio Davis, who played with Toronto and Indiana. Great player, great guy. They're on the team, so we win the first 6 games, so I'm like rolling. And then we proceed to lose the next 6 games by 1 or 2 points. And I'm about ready to get fired because we got, I'm thinking we got 2 great players. Now the paper is writing that Antonio Davis should be replaced and out. Everybody says he can't play. And I'm like looking at it going, that might be one of my best, I know it's one of my best players, that's one of the best players I've ever coached. So what's the difference? Why can't we win? I got Sasha Djordjevic, who was a point guard, I've almost completely destroyed. He can't even talk almost. He's lost his confidence and everything else. And that for me is the biggest turning point. I've had to figure this out. Either I'm going to fire, and I'm done. I'm 42 years old. Got barely a college education. What am I going to do? I just got married. What am I going to do? Just going to have a kid. What am I going to do? And so I've got to make some decisions here and hope for the best. And so I did remember that. I do know one thing that's important. And Coach Peterson, when I was a player, the reason I didn't make the NBA, I think I was skilled enough. I wasn't tough enough up here. I doubted myself. I lost my confidence. I got to a point where I couldn't even make a layup and just completely destroyed it. Coach Peterson took me, and when I got to Milan, and it took a couple years, but he gave me so much confidence and defended me. And wherever it went bad, he kept telling me, you're going to play 40 minutes every night. I don't care if you play bad, good. And he just rode me. We won about 5 or 6 championships, and he made me the best player I could make by the confidence that he gave me. Whether I earned it or not, he was sticking with me. And that's what I try to do now. When I have players, I'm sticking with them. And until the day that we cut them, or we trade them, or whatever it is. But if they're on my team, I hope they think that I have supreme confidence in them. And that's the same thing I asked the general manager. I said, look, I know you're going to fire me. When you hire me, I'm real close to getting fired. And so the only thing I ask is let me do my job. Let me make decisions. And when you come through that door, you support me 100%. Now, one day you'll come through that door and you fire me. And I get it. And we'll be friends and we'll talk, and that's okay. But don't early in your career come through and question things and think you got to do this or you better do that. And if we do that, then I'm going to get fired. You got no chance. And that's where George is saying, management, they got to trust you and they got to let you do your job. And then one day, hey, stuff happens, everybody gets fired, and you go on and get another job. But just the confidence that you can give your players or the confidence that management can give you as a coach is extremely important. So anyway, we lost those 6 games. I got Djordjevic completely a shell. Antonio, everybody's clamoring to get rid of him. And I walked in, I remember, and this was my whole life turned. I walked in, and I have an older assistant coach who back he was great. And he's also a count. Anyway, and a young one. And I'm in there, and I said, okay, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our leading scorer, who's a 4, traditional 4, back to the basket guy, and he's going to bench. I moved my 3 to the 4, putting in a little guy about this tall that can shoot the hell out of threes, and that's how we're going to play. And we're going to open the floor up, and we're going to run. Not half the stuff we do now, because hopefully I've progressed a little bit as a coach, but it was that. And I remember that the older assistant coach, who was a very good coach, the head coach, he started yelling at me and screaming at me like, you won't get us all fired, you're crazy, it won't work, you can't do that. And he went nuts on me. And I told him, well, we're doing it. So we went, the next 22 games, we won 21 of them. And I thought we had a chance to win a championship until Antonio breaks his hand, and we came in 3rd that year. But it just changed my whole life. Now, where I really screwed up is that when after a few years in Europe, and I won a couple titles with Benetton, I go to Denver and became the head coach. It was a shortened strike year. I think it was only a 50-game season. And now, because I'm chicken shit, I go back and coach the way everybody else is coaching. Get up, posting up, doing the thing, and I get fired. Thank God they fired me after 50 games. Probably the biggest break I ever had. I was not ready to coach. And it was different, and I was thrown into a situation where I was just barely hanging on, and because they fired me so quick, I felt sorry for me, and poor Mike didn't get a chance, and all that stuff. So that worked out. That's one time I got fired, and I was really happy. That later on. Otherwise, I'd be in big trouble. But then when I came back, I went back to Europe, did my thing, came back to the United States, and I'm with Phoenix, and then about 3 or 4 things happened. One, I was determined, okay, now I'm going to coach the way I think I know how to coach, and I want to be me. We get Steve Nash, which is probably a little bit more important than me being me. But you get, what George said, you got to have a point guard. My God, is that ever right? The only success I've ever had is Steve Nash, Jeremy Lin for about 2 weeks. Then Sasha Djordjevic, now James Harden, Chris Paul, got 2 of the best ever. I like to think it's my coaching, but probably isn't, and that's cool. So I go to Phoenix, and I did have Jerry Colangelo, and we sit down, and he says, what are you going to do? And I'm him all around. I have a personality. I'm not real forceful. It's not like I go, yes, this, because I might need to switch gears a little bit. In the NBA, you kind of, yeah, okay, we'll do this. And And he said, well, you know, play your best guys. And I go, good thing you said that. And when he said that, and I'm putting Amari at the 5, I'm putting Sean at the 4, and I'm putting my shooters. I got Steve Nash. We're opening up the floor. The NBA, thank God, changed the rules. You can't hand check. We get freedom of movement, and then we'll just, you know, we'll go fast. I didn't know how fast was. Just go. And I remember distinctly, and I was still in the, you know, I wanted to coach, and I'm calling plays and all that stuff like all coaches do. So I'm sitting on the bench, and here goes Steve, and I'm getting up to call a play, and he goes. Sit back down. Steve there. He's gone. I guess that's how we're going to play. We're just going to see the Sean's running down, and Roy running down, and you know, and it turned. Then you start to tweak it, and you say, God, it's all the players, and it's them. And one thing I try to do as a coach, and hopefully you guys, I have a philosophy, and I would like to get close to. One thing you got to be careful about, and I love his assistant coaches are great. I have some great ones in Houston. I've always had good ones. That just be careful about if you're going on this line that they draw you over here, over here. Sometimes I listen to people and I'm going now this way and I'm going, wait, I don't want to do this. You should be careful about being influenced too much. Now you can also get the label that you're stubborn. That's me. But if you believe it, you need to be stubborn. You're not stubborn if you're right. And you need to believe because they're going to fire you anyway. Do it the way you got to do it. But don't be stupid. You know, if they have good ideas, then you try to get that and you put them, and that will help you on your way. But also believe in yourself and believe in your gut, and believe in analytics, and put it all together and try to stay on the right line. So anyway, that's now, as George says, I think the game will get faster. There were some great questions. One, positionless basketball. I really believe in that. I know big guys hate me. They look at me. The big guys don't like me. But one thing Europe taught me, and they were so far ahead of the United States, was in the skill development and the skills. And that's one reason I could do what I did in Europe and develop it faster, kind of wide open, because the bigs were skilled. Now, you know, I have bigs that could pass, could bring the ball up, could shoot it, shoot threes. All fours could shoot threes. Like in the NBA, that wasn't the case. You had to enforce it. You had a guy that just hit people. But the game, I think, has evolved into the players are so much more talented now. They'll keep getting that way. You know, like we used to put X's on the floor where we have positions we want guys to stand in right here. Now we put them out here. Now they're going to keep going. Eric Gordon shoots out here, shoots it well without any problem. So why wouldn't you open the floor? Look at all the space you can get. Now, poor Tibbs got to figure out how many rotate he got from there out to here. Didn't have time to get there. And you can. We'll see where it goes. You know, switching is. I like it. There are some problems with it. Not all teams can do it. It's personnel driven. But I love the concept of switching because tagging on the weak side and getting out to Klay Thompson, and if Klay's out here, you just can't do it. It's just not physically possible. So I think maybe it'll get there. You know, maybe all bigs are. You got 6. You know, Don Nelson said the best. He was positioned as back when where he wanted to play 5, 6, 9 guys right across the board, and not bad. If you got guys, they can all handle, they can all shoot it, they can all put the ball on the floor. Yeah, that's the way to go. It's hard to find out with the personnel, but that's definitely where the game's going to go. But again, my time in Europe was so much, you know, just made me a better person, and the influences of just the players, management. You know, we would have a team, and you can't do it in the NBA, it's too bad. But we play twice a week. I mean, the whole team, families, coaches, the owner, we all went to dinner together after the game. And we won, I don't know, 5 championships out of 7 years, and the same guys, same management, same coaches, and we're all together. And you can't duplicate that here, and that's too bad, because that was the best part of Europe, was just the camaraderie. And it's funny, you know, you look at Americans come over, We all struggle with the language. Obviously, with my West Virginia twang, I really struggle. Georgievich comes down from Belgrade, Serbia. He doesn't speak Italian. In a month, he's like fluent. I mean, it's incredible the other countries, what they have and what they can do, and you learn that, and you learn their way of life. And sometimes Italian way of life is terrific. You try to get that in your life, but just so many influences in Europe that worked out for me. And you got to be lucky. You don't think I'm sitting up here thinking I know shit. I don't know jack shit about a lot of it. But you get lucky, you try to be true to what you believe in, and you go with it. Has anybody got any questions? More?
You want to take it?
No, I'm good.
Questions?
Yeah.
One thing you talked about was giving confidence. How do you figure out who to give confidence to? You have someone shooting 12% from the three-point line, and you give that guy confidence that they take one in a game. How do you decide who to give the confidence to?
Well, that's, he was just saying, who had you decide a player to give confidence to if he's shooting 12%? Well, he wouldn't be playing, obviously. When I try to tell our players, I said, look, today is Monday, and I'm talking to you today, and I'm going to tell you the truth today. But this truth might not be true on Friday. I don't know how the team evolves, and so take it for what it's worth. Right now, you're in my plans, and I love you, and we're going with it. On Friday, I might not be playing. So I know that's a little bit of exaggeration, but you try to be truthful. But knowing that when you tell them that, there's a good possibility that I give you all the confidence really here's my good enough. And then that happens, and that's why players get pissed off. But anyway, it's funny. Some coach said there's always going to be conflict with players, and because there's two ways to look at it. And this is how a coach looks over here, where this is a team, and you got to figure it, then you get down to individually. And the team, the player, that's him, and this is the team down here. So there's going to be conflict. I mean, it's just natural. And what they want. Now, what we try to do in Houston, and it's been pretty good, that we try to, what I try to do is, hey, you come to Houston, you play for me, and I'm going to get you a career year. That's my goal. So that satisfied his needs. And it's like, because I'm asking some guys to run in that corner and just stand there. And that's tough on some players. Some players want to be involved and act like they're involved anyway. So, but, we have one down there, and one thing I tell them, I said, well, Joe Johnson ran down that corner, got $85 million to run down there, so they run that corner, they stand right there, they're fine. But at the end of the day, if their numbers are down, I'm not going to get away with that. But if I can show them by the way we play, your career average is, you average, or your best year, you've averaged 13 points, and you're averaging 17 doing that, you can get away with it. And we try to satisfy their individual greed, and they all have it. I have it, which is not bad. Everybody wants to get paid. Everybody is in it to make a living for the kids and everything else. I have to satisfy that. At the same time, get good people with good hearts, and they will not be jacking up. If they're jacking it up, then we got problems. If they're doing it out of greed, if they're doing it because they make a mistake, I got no problem with that. We'll talk about it, we'll show them on the film, try to get them better. But, there's some things, like they said, somebody said that, yeah, I'll take them out if they shoot a two. That's not, we shoot twos. We don't shoot many of them. If they had my preference, we wouldn't shoot either. It's not a good shot. It's just analytically, it's just not a good shot. Now, there's always a gray area. At the end of the day, it's a good shot because you want to get closer to the rim because that's like a 45% shot in here. I think an open three, and you guys correct me, I don't know all the numbers, but something like if you're wide open within the three-point line, it's like 45% to make it. See, for me, we go on, if you're not shooting over 50% as a player, your effective field goal percentage is not over 50%, you can't help us. And I've got in trouble twice in my career having players, volume shooters, who were shooting 45% from effective field goal percentage. And I had that conversation with them. So we're giving you the ball, You're our main player, and you're killing us. That doesn't make any sense to me. So either you change your game, shoot more threes, get more layups, get to the foul line, or we're going to lose. Well, I lost, so I went to another team. Probably had to think that a little bit better. I think I've got a little smarter how I can maneuver around that one. But so anyway, that's not true. We try to shoot threes in the last 3 minutes. We'll take twos because then a 45% is better than a 36. So you need a two. You don't need 3. Anyway, but our philosophy at Houston, and I'm sure you all know, say this, I'm sick of it, but we shoot foul shots, we shoot layups, we shoot threes. That's what we do. And every play I try to design, every thought I have with the player, I'm trying to do those 3 things. And then after that, if Chris Paul comes in and shoots mid-range and he mostly shoots over 50, then you do it. I'm not upset with that. But if I got a guy that can't shoot that and he's shooting it, we have a talk, and we don't take that. You drive it to kick it, or you don't take that around. And we've been successful with that. I know Brent's here. He's my analytics assistant coach that gets him all the numbers. But we've went from I don't know, last year we even got better at 2 points, but we analytically calculated. I hope it's true. But the way we played, and because we took threes and layups and fouls, it gave us 9 more wins. I mean, we won 65 games 2 years ago. And just if everything was normal, we took normal shots like the whole league takes, the same rate of the twos that the whole league takes, we would have won 9 less games. And that's pretty big. So we will stay with it. Hopefully we can win a championship that way. It's not proven, except Golden State. Obviously it's proved a lot of things. But we think it's a winning formula, and as long as management thinks it, I'm okay. But anyway, get back. I try to give confidence to everybody, and then after a while you got to make cuts, or you don't play somebody, and that's just the way it is. And they have to understand that. Anybody else? And one other thing about, when I, on offense, that I try to do, I watch players and see what they do best. We run some drills where we just let them do stuff. We have concepts, we really don't have plays, but everybody runs the lane now where the ball comes through the top of the post, the top of the key, and 4-5 out. We let them make things up, and then we'll write it down and act like we came up with it. We'll do that all the time. We have a play called Nash because Nash is the first one that did it, so I call it Nash. I mean, even oh man, forgot my guy. Swagger. Who's Swagger? Nick Young. Anyway, Nick. Some things you try to forget. Nick's one of my favorites. He's the best. But we're running stuff, and we have a play now that he came up with. We're running the 21 instead. He didn't hand it back here, threw it back to the center, came down and fixed, and we run a stagger off that. And he did that just in practice. So we wrote it down, try to figure out a little bit of variations out of it, and put it in our offense. But we'll have concepts, and we just tell players, do something different. Just do something that maybe we haven't seen, maybe we like it, maybe you like it. Do what you feel comfortable. And then we do that every day and try to just let them go, write stuff down, and put it in our playbook. Any other questions? Yeah. Do I know when I change it? Yeah, I think I have one every year. It just doesn't work out every time. I think every coach thinks, you kind of know when you don't. And you're missing agreement. Now at Houston right now, we got everything. We just haven't done it. We got to do it. You got to. I was talking to somebody the other day, and he's right. We talk about it all the time. The game usually comes down about 4 or 5 plays. And it's who hits a 3, a call. You come down and make a wrong decision, and they go back and hit a 3. Like a 5-point swing. It's just little things like that. It's about 3 or 4 plays, and that changed. One thing analytics helped me is help my sanity is that we have guys, and whether it's true or not, I don't know, because I don't even know all the analytics stuff, but they come to me, and the way we played that night, and say we didn't shoot the ball well, but we took the right shots, the spacing was right, all that stuff they calculate. And they go, we just did not shoot the ball well. You know, it's just one of those nights. You played exactly the way we should have played. You just go on the next game. You know, before you didn't have that. Before you go, oh shit. You know, now we have to tinker with something. Maybe we got to change something up. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. But now it's pretty clear about, now we can just go on the next game. You know, and we're doing what's right, just keep on the path. And, you know, that's helped me a lot. It made me more confident as a coach. You know, now I know that, okay, this is right, let's just do it better. And I think to win a championship, sometimes you got to have the it factor, whatever the it is. Some players have it. Some players make a big shot. Why Leonard make that shot? Why does that go in? You know, some players have that. It just goes in. You know, and maybe it's luck, maybe it didn't, maybe it's just their mindset, but we haven't quite got that it yet. And you can get it. You know, like you watch the Masters all the time. They miss that putt. And when they could have won, and all of a sudden they make one. And then, you know, now it's a little easier. And I was like that as a player. You miss the shot, miss a foul shot, you lose. And then all of a sudden you hit one, you get the confidence, you hit another one, now all of a sudden you're a champion. Before you were a dog, and now you're a champion. But you always think you're going to win. Every game I go into, I think we're going to win. Yeah. I'm sorry.
There's a lot being said about. I think with all the sharing going on social media, there's a lot being said about how much European offensive concepts kind of trickled over, even some of their experience coming back with pace and space, different pick and roll concepts. But how about the other side of the floor? Do you see anything from the defensive side, defensive tactics, like in Spain, strong side help really popular to take the change the role and helping attack on the same side? Are there any defensive concepts you see? The defensive rules are different, so there's a rotation. Do you see anything that you think you can translate?
That's good. Here, let me get in here. Give me this. Let me go. Hey, Tibbs, you want to answer that one? you want to answer that? You know, now it's more of an international game. It's funny because when I started out, the Italians accused me of bringing all the American stuff over, like spacing out, shooting threes and all, and bringing that over to the European game. So I was kind of ostracized by doing that. Then I went back to the United States and they claimed I brought everything back from Italy. It's all the same. You know, there's the court, you know, it just seems like it's easier to defend in Europe, just because, although the skills are good. And, you know, we got our butts beat. I don't know, with Mike Krzyzewski the first year, the World Games, Greece busted our butts. What was that, 2006, I think. And we couldn't stop their pick and roll. They just ate us up. But they're so good and skilled, the bigs are skilled. And that's where, you know, you learn to defend against that, and that does help you in the United States. Concepts, you know, all defenses more or less the same. I mean, you're either downing or you're switching it, you can trap it. Before everybody forced to the middle, now everybody kind of forces the baseline. Some people getting even away from that because players are great at pocket passes and, you know, just stepping back to three and it takes them down, throws it back. So there's all kinds of, you know, teams will be different and coaches have different philosophies. Nothing's right, nothing's wrong. Just do it. If you're doing your philosophy the best and you're getting the best out of your team, that's all you can ask for. But Europe is a great proving ground or watching people play. You know, we have, I get clips from our European scout about different plays and sets that they run in Europe, and some of their concepts are fantastic. We try to steal those. And I told Rick Allen when he retired.
Nick Nurse has one of the most amazing resumes I've ever seen before. I have it on my phone here. I'm going to read it because I think it's a great example of the importance of having diverse experience, doing a lot of different things, using all those things, knowing that at some point in time, your moment's going to come and you're going to be able to draw on all these things. So Nick's career began in '89. He's coached for 30 years. Does that sound right? Okay. He was with Northern Iowa as an assistant. He was with the Derby Rams as a player coach in 1991. 91 through 93, he was with Grandview, which is in the States, I believe. Then South Dakota as an assistant coach. Then the Birmingham Bullets for 2 years from 95 to 97 as a head coach. 98 went to the Talindus, Belgium for a year. The Manchester Giants for a couple of years. The London Towers for a year. Oklahoma Storm as an assistant coach. The Brighton Bears from 01 to 06 was a very, very stable run, it looked like, 5 years. In 05, came back to the Oklahoma Storm as an assistant coach. Iowa Energy from 07 to 11. Rio Grande Valley Vipers from 11 to 13, where he won 2 championships in the D-League. Was an assistant with the Raptors for 5 years, and then became the head coach this year. In the process of getting to the point where he became an NBA champion, he won 2 British Basketball League championships, 2 D-League championships, and really has had an amazing run. And if you don't believe Nick Nurse is a great coach, look at their record without Kawhi Leonard playing. I believe you guys were 17-5 without him playing this year. Does that sound right? All right. So Nick is going to do some stuff. He's going to say a few words and do some stuff on the floor. Let's welcome the 2019 NBA champion, Toronto Raptors head coach, Nick Nurse.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Really humbling and honored to be here. I just continues to happen, things like this. We won the championship and got carted over to do a television interview with Kevin McHale, Isaiah Thomas, and Grant Hill. And when I was a kid, I was out there shooting McHale fadeaways, and I'm sitting there talking to him about the NBA title, and certainly watched Isaiah Thomas. I was in college when they were doing their thing, and out here with George and Mike on the docket. It's pretty humbling. George is obviously somebody I followed and idolized. He was a minor league guy that did it in the minors and made it to the NBA. So I watched him a lot, studied him a lot, read his books, all those kind of things. He had some playbooks, 101 something or other things. I remember reading those. But he also in 2000, Terry, or 1999? 2000, the year 2000, I was still coaching in England. And I had met Warren because I volunteered to coach a summer league down in Treviso, the very first one in '96, I think, the Blue Summer League, which was great. There was 8 teams and 7 Italian coaches and me, and they had an Italian interpreter for me. But so I met Warren through that, and Warren helped me get on the Milwaukee Bucks Summer League staff in 2000, where George was the head coach of the Bucks, but Terry Stotts was the head coach of the Summer League team. So again, and Terry was a mentor in the D-League as well. Head coaching mentor. It was a good summer. It was Terry and Ron Adams and Mike Tebow and Don Newman and who else was there? That's about everybody, right? And me and Chris Gilmartin, a couple other guys, but Michael Redd's rookie year, a long time ago, 19 years ago now. It's crazy where the time goes. But just want to introduce a couple of my assistants real quick. There's a couple guys over here, Patrick Mutombo and Adrian Griffin. You guys can, how about we give them a little clap? Warren doesn't know this story, but I met AG coming out of a meeting with his agent, and I was going in a meeting with my agent. That was before Warren worked for me, but don't tell Warren that. And that's we stopped and talked in the hallway and became friends, and then I was assistant coach for the, I was a head coach of the Iowa Energy, and the Bulls were our affiliate team, and I was spending some time in Chicago, and AG was working there, got to know him, and I told him if I ever got a job, I was going to try to hire him, and lucky to steal him away from OKC. Great person, first of all, tremendous professional, great defensive background with some of the great coaches he's worked with, and did an unbelievable job in the playoffs and this season. Just some of the ideas and game plans he came up with to keep us alive and running in that playoff series. He was great. One of my other assistants is here too. You see him sitting down here. It's Nate Bjorkgren. Give him a quick hand. And if you think that list that Rick just read off was a improbable rise to getting there, but Nate sits right next to me on the bench in the NBA. He's also been with the Phoenix Suns, but Nate was a walk-on when I was an assistant at the University of South Dakota, and that doesn't really mean anything, but that was when we first met each other. And then I got the job with the Iowa Energy. He was coaching high school basketball in Phoenix, but he's from Iowa originally, and he just wouldn't leave me alone about becoming my assistant at the Energy. And I'd already hired my assistant, a great college coach named Gary Garner, who was the head coach at Drake in Des Moines. And we had no money and zero money. And Nate quit his job in Phoenix and came back to Des Moines and said, "I'm doing it for nothing." And he got a job teaching 5 and 6-year-olds in the public Des Moines school system, PE, and somehow worked his schedule around being able to come to every practice and hang with me every night and drive his own car to Tulsa and run into the gym right before the ball went up, things like that, and drive it back home. And we drove to, what the heck was it up there, North Dakota again? Bismarck. He drove up to Bismarck one time, and he was getting ready to have a baby. So as soon as the buzzer sounded, we both jumped in his car and drove home. And he went and had a baby. I was the first one to meet his kid, him and his wife, and then it was me. So lots of stories like that. But we spent about, 18 hours a day together every day for 4 years trying to figure out how to win that first D-League title. So appreciative of all that stuff too. Anyway, I was supposed to talk about the influence international basketball had on my coaching. And we're going to get right into it. And we're going to travel to north of the border to Canada. So I'm going to show you a couple things here and then show you a couple ideas about what we have and where we're going with some of this stuff. And I'll show you where it came from. And let's get it started here, okay? So we're gonna put in a set. Probably stole this from somebody in here already. Probably you, Mike, and Tony. Okay, just an OB set. Okay. And it's going to be just let's go zipper. Nate, go 5. Go 5 at the elbow and give me a guard down at the block, Nate. Zipper, Nate. Yep. Guard at the block, and you can start at the elbow. And you start down in here just a little bit. So that's going to be our 4-5, probably our point guard. This is our best shooter. This would be just a basic, simple play, and this is how we used to run it. Okay? So this 5-man would pin down and zipper this point guard up. Okay, just clear out of the play. Stop. 5-man is going to hop right back here. You go ahead. Just pop right here in the mid post. We're going to throw it here. And as soon as you throw it, okay, hold on. You're going to have to pretend somebody's guarding you. So you're going to have to throw it over the top of it. Stay here. But as soon as you throw it, you're running. Okay, because your guy's going to be up and you're going to run. You got to either get by your guy or swim by your guy. Okay? And all he's going to do is flip it back to you. You're going to go up and set the hammer screen, and you're just going to tear off here. You're going to make this hammer pass out there for a corner 3. Okay? It's just a zip hammer. Okay? Pretty simple. Let's see if they can run it one time just for something. Look at it. Pretty good. Boom, boom, boom. Okay? Not bad, right? Pretty good little set, but you get to the NBA and guys like Tibbs and Terry and Scotty and these guys, especially Andy, holding, everybody's holding. They're not going to let you run this stuff. The coaches are going to tell them, everybody go down and grab somebody at the start. So get back to your positions. Get back to your positions real quick just so we can look at it. So they're going to hold this, and they're going to not let this guy move, and they're not going to let this guy move, and they're going to jam this whole thing up, and then when you clear, this guy's going to hold him, and he's not going to be open, and he's not going to be able to cut, right? And there your play's dead, and you don't look like a very good coach, okay? So I live right about 3 blocks away from the soccer stadium and the CFL football stadium in Canada, and I always walk over and go watch some of the Canadian Football League games. This is a stretch. If anybody watch Canadian football at all? Yeah, just a quick explanation, right? You know, like the NFL, and they're running a play, everybody's on the line of scrimmage, and they're right up on the line, and they snap the ball, and they go.
Well, in the Canadian League, they let them start 15 yards back. And they get a running start before the ball's even snapped. They're all flying, they're at top speed by the time the ball's snapped. Think about how much harder that would be to guard. Sitting there watching this and watching this and watching this, I'm thinking, why do we do that? Why are we going to stand there, wait for the ref to blow his whistle, hand our guy the ball, and then start trying to trudge through all this holding these guys do, right? So we started naming our plays after Canadian football teams, okay? So we're going to show you this play. What do we call this one? Stampede. It's after the Calgary Stampede in the CFL, okay? And this is how it looks now. You see how they've switched? First thing, Mike talked about space. Look at the difference in the space we're using now, right? And we're going to start them before the ref hands the ball. So we first had to call. We didn't even know if the rules so you could do that. We called up Don Vaden and said, can we do it? Yep, we can do it. And then we started watching the film. There's a rhythm to how the refs do it, right? They get everybody set. They blow their whistle. They throw it. So we practice this in practice. Nate will try to imitate one of our finest referees here. So our guys are going to start moving a full count before the ball's supposed to be, or the ball's handed, right? So he's even like to step away and bounce passes it sometimes. So you guys, we always tell you guys you can't leave too early. There's no screening now. It's just cutting and speed, and you're running by people, and the last screen will be a hammer screen at the end. All right, this should be good. Here we go. A little bit different, not bad, right? And he made it. Give him a hand. Give him a hand. Give him a hand. Give him a hand. Clap him up. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's go. You want to show one more? You want to see one more? Just listen. This isn't that big a deal, right? But it's I'm watching Canadian football, living in another country, right? And it's pretty good. We got a bucket or two out of some of this stuff this year. We didn't run it that much. Like Mike says, you got all these great ideas and you get scared to use them sometimes, right? You want to try the Toronto Argonauts play? Yep. Okay. It's after our hometown team, the Argonauts. Okay. And hold on, Nate. You want to show them the original first, Nate? I know you got them set up for the big. Show them the original. This is Hubie Brown's play. I stole it off his DVD. You guys probably saw that. When I got back from England, I was living right next to Ames, Iowa, and there's a company there that sells DVDs. I bought every NBA DVD and watched them all. And this play was on it that Hubie was running, and it jumped out to me to use a lot. So it's just a little double screen, and then the four swings back around, and here we go. This is what it looked like originally. Just a little screen and a little curl. Shooter, that guy makes the play, right? Okay, and this is just how we spread it out and tried to run it beforehand. Okay? Yep, so this guy's going to take off running really early here, so now we're just using more speed. Go ahead. Go. Yep, good, boom. Good, just again, ends up looking pretty much the same, and that's exactly what he's supposed to do, turn the corner, make a play. Okay? All right, that's good on that. Let's give them another hand. Listen, wasn't that big a deal, but again, just trying to say, there's one other couple stories that I got here for you too that I'll tell you about. You know, he listed off all those places. I just wanted to be a head coach, and I wanted to learn, and that's kind of why I kept taking all those different jobs. I went to England originally in '95 because I wanted to see if I was any good at coaching, and I wanted to try and experiment with it. But when I went there, you know, I went there pretty purposeful. I was living in a hotel, coaching a team called the Birmingham Bullets, nice group of players. The league was okay at the time, but I was spending pretty much all day studying basketball. Luckily, this is back before the internet days where you could just watch every game in the world at the tip of your fingers. I found a company in Germany that was sending VHS tapes of NBA games to you. Can't remember what it cost, $10 a week or something. They'd send me, I picked the Bulls. Every Friday, they'd get 4 Bulls games delivered to my hotel door, and I'd watch those things, I don't know, each game 100 times maybe, right? It was like you're dying over there for some anything you can get your hands on as far as learning, and just tried to study that stuff as much as I can. And it wasn't just studying the X's and O's. I was studying subbing patterns and timeouts and all those kind of things, watching those games. And we made it fun. Our team was running the triangle at the time. So American players, we'd sit around, watch the Bulls games, and next day we'd go to practice and put in some of their entries to the triangle and things like that. So it was good over a 9-month season to be able to do that with some of those guys. But the most important thing is I was just trying to figure out how to coach, and I was really trying to learn, which I think is really most important, is how do you get them to play together, right? How do you get them to accept a role? How do you get them to play a little harder in the team they're playing? And how do you get them, to believe they can win it all? The first year in England was, I heard somebody ask a question, do you know when you got a championship team? I don't know the answer to that, but my first year in England was very similar to this year. Team was decent. There was some talent. We thought we maybe could, but we tried to convince them that we're going to do it, and we ended up doing the same thing. And I'll tell this story because it relates to, there was a team over there called the London Towers that had won like 11 of the last 12 titles. I knew that going in there, right? Kind of like this year. Golden State was, expected to win, or knew they were probably going to be there or whatever. But I got there, and I knew they were the best team. They had the most money, the best players, best coach, all that stuff. And I lived about 90 miles from where they played. And every time they were playing and we weren't, I'd get in my car and drive down there, and I'd sit in the front row and watch them play. And I was there a lot. I don't know why. They played on weird nights. They played at Wembley Arena down there. Just kept showing up all the time. And they had two really good players. Hi, Rexy. How you doing, man? Two really good players, Steve Bucknell, you might remember that name, from North Carolina, and a guy named Danny Lewis that played at Wayne State in Michigan. But those guys both averaged close to 30 and dished out about 7 or 8 assists. Basically, everything went through them. And the more I went down there, I was like, well, when we played these guys, we got to stop those guys somehow, all right? So here's what I came up with for a defensive thing. We called it the ZMT, Zoner, Manner, Trapper. Okay, it was kind of a triangle and two. So here's what we did. I took my two big guys, the 4 and the 5, put them on the block. It was going to be a triangle and two, kind of. I told them to stay on the block, protect the rim, and get every rebound. Don't leave. If there's somebody open in the corner, let them shoot it. Don't leave. Protect the rim, get all the rebounds. Took my point guard and put him at the nail at the top of the triangle. He was to play zone. But if either of those two guys ever caught it in the half court, he was supposed to leave that spot and go double him and then get back to his home base as fast as he could. And I took 4 guys, my 2 manners, 2 guys playing man-to-man, told them face guard, 94 feet, nose to nose, they don't touch it for 3 minutes, and then I'm bringing 2 guys in for you. Those 2 guys just kept coming in and out 3 minutes, and everybody else was chilling back there. So these guys are really good. I don't remember, the record was, 14-1 at the time or something. We played them and took the team down to London to play them. Guys were on board, seemingly, with it. Start doing it, and of course, all their extra guys are banging in threes all over the place, right? Open, corner, open. We're down about 8 at the half, and I go in and tell the team, I said, okay, we're out of it. And the guys looked at me and said, no way. No way, man. This is when it's going to work. This is the half. The fourth quarter, they'll start getting and they were right. Fourth quarter came, those guys were wide open out there. They weren't used to shooting them, wasn't taking them. Anyway, we won the game 76-72. Okay. Saw them again later, did it to them again later, beat them again. Fast forward, we end up getting to the championship game that year against London Towers. We played Saturday night, is at Wembley Arena. We won. I think we got back to the hotel about 1:30, 2 a.m. It was like the Final Four. We had to play the next day at 6 p.m. There was zero prep for them. Came into the locker room and said, let's go with the ZMT. And they said, no way, man, let's go guard them. And we did. We went out there and guarded them and ended up beating them, winning the championship that first year. And that was, I think a lot of that stuff is you got to get a willingness for your players to buy into it. And as crazy as it sounds, there's still got to be some kind of plan to it, right? When I'm trying to sell that crazy ZMT to them, you know, you're giving them why. You know, I've been down there 30 times and watched these guys play or whatever it is. I'm going down there every night to watch these guys play, and this is what I see, and this is how I think it's going to beat them, and you're selling it to them. And it's not unlike in the finals. You know, we went to that box and won in game 2. Well, it was crazy, but we were in trouble. That game was, we had no control of that. They had all the rhythm, and I had to do something. The timeout we were still bleeding. Another timeout, we were still bleeding, and we had to do something to change the rhythm. And when I said, Freddie's going to chase Steph like crazy, and Kyle, you're going to go here, and Kawhi, you're going to go here, and Mark, you guys are going to go. And Kyle looked at it and said, man, that'll work. And he sold it to the rest of the guys for me. And we didn't win the game, but we could have, just about. But I think it may have got us a win. We used it again in game 6, and there was didn't have to sell anything then because they saw how good it worked in game 2, etc. All that comes back around to the point George and Mike both made already, which was you go over there, you get yourself a team, and you start experimenting with stuff, right? You take something like playing small and spreading the floor that seems unbelievable at the time, and now everybody's doing it, right? It's like the only way to play now. And I just, for anybody that's, you know, aspiring to be a coach, if you're young, I always say this, is that the head coaching experience is critical. It's critical. And Warren will tell you, he knows that half the reason I know him is I kept showing up everywhere, right? How did I get to Chorizo in 96? I just kept writing the guy an email. I'll coach a team for you. I'll coach Long Beach Summer League. Before the great Vegas Summer League, it was back in Long Beach. I went down there for a whole summer, got a hotel room, and handed out stats for a whole summer saying, hey, I also coach if you ever need a coach, you know. And the next year, they gave me a free agent team to coach. USBL volunteered because I wanted to learn the NBA rules. And Basketball Without Borders, and you know, any Adidas Nations, anywhere they'd let me have a team for 4 or 5 days so I could hone my skill of trying to get them together, get them to play their ass off, pass the ball, call the timeouts, draw the plays, all that kind of stuff just adds to your toolbox and your growing and learning experience, okay? All right. That's about all I got. I just want to share one quick story about Kawhi leaving the other day. I shouldn't share this, but I'm going to anyway. Me and Nate, he has to do stuff sometimes that he doesn't want to do with me. A lot of stuff, like I take him stuff. Everybody knows I like music a lot. Back in high school, I really liked Prince, and there's a Prince impersonator at the Tropicana in Vegas. So Nate and I went over to watch this Prince impersonator at the Tropicana, and right in the big finale, man, he's singing Purple Rain, and Nate and I got our hands up, and we're singing. Look down at our phones. Kawhi's leaving. Say, fuck. Put our phones down, put our hands back up, start singing Purple Rain. All right. Give the players a hand for me. I'll take some questions too if you have any. Any questions? Yep. Go ahead. What's my plans with the Canadian national team this summer? Well, similar, right? I think there's a lot of talent there, right? I think, you know, we got to get them together, and I hate to simplify this, but play defense and hit the open man is where we're going to start, right? Play defense and hit the open man, and then try to get them to see. I don't know. Dream big, man. There's a lot of talent. Who knows if we get the right guys and the right chemistry and the right toughness and sharing the ball, who knows what we can do. We'll start in on it like we would with any other team. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, well, he says there's a growing community of American coaches overseas now, and he's talked about the feeling of being forgotten. You know, they get this feeling that nobody knows what they're doing. Heck, you and I had the same conversation. I went Our team went 47-5 one year in Manchester, and you said nobody gives a shit. I mean, it's true. We had an unbelievable team. Yeah, you cared, right? But here's my answer to this. I knew that, right? We were winning championships over there. We were doing well. I was getting a little bit better jobs. I was getting to coach in the Euro League and the Euro Cup, even with the national team over there and the Olympics and all that stuff. And again, nobody really cared. But that's okay. Like, I know the first thing I would say is this: I loved all those jobs, man. Like, at the time, they meant the world to me, right? They meant the world to me. And the other thing is I knew I was getting better. I was working hard to get better, not unlike a player does. Go to the summer, work on your left hand. Go to the summer, work on your end of the game as a coach. What are you going to do? Work on it hard. Put a clock on yourself. You only got a minute. Pause a game. Get a dry erase board. Whatever it is, you're working on your game, right? But I also knew and felt that and in the summers was really trying hard to kind of re-enter, right? Was trying to re-enter. That's why I was going to Long Beach in the summer. I was going to the USBL. I was hanging around the D League a lot. And it's difficult. I couldn't get a job in the D League as an assistant for 3 years, and I decided to start my own team. So we started that team in Iowa, and I just said, you guys run it, and I'll coach it, and they let us do that. So that was a big step forward as well. But even in the D League, we were having success. I think our first year we got our butts kicked a little bit. We were 24-26. Felt worse than that though. 24-26, and we decided. I told them as soon as the season ended, I said we got to figure this out, right? And we sat in the summer and we came up with four things we knew we were going to do. One, we were going to be great at player personnel. Two, we had to get a simplified offensive system because we had players coming in and out. We had to get a simplified defensive system. And the fourth one was we had to figure out how to be great at end of games because somehow magically all those games seemed to be close in that league, right? And we had to figure out how to win them. So Nate, it was the worst summer of his life. We put all those dry erase boards up all over my house, and we kept thinking of every end of game scenario we could think of and our answer to them. Okay, boom, get your defensive subs in. Whatever. Do we have a foul to give? Whatever. All the little quick hitting things we had to think of, and then we tried to practice them out loud or watch games and stop them and do all that stuff. So, I guess answering your question, you got to try to work your way back in eventually because I think you're good. If that's your goal to get back in, you're here. You want to coach in the NBA, you got to be where the NBA is, and right now the NBA is in Vegas, so you're making a good step. Yep. We have a lot of fun. Yep, a lot of fun. Yep, play a lot of music at practice. I think Mike already touched on it. I mean, listen, when the ball goes up or when it's time to practice or whatever, I'm as serious as the next hardcore coach. But I'm also away from it. You see me, I love going to music and all that. We play a lot of music at practice. They get sick of it in our September workouts. Every day starts with the song "September" by Earth, Wind and Fire. They're sick of that song right now, but just to keep it going a little bit. Absolutely fun and laugh and smile and know when the difference is to get to work and be a pro and go to work. Yep. Uh-huh. Yeah. He said transition offense. We seemed like we were good in it. Well, Mike already said this too. If you want to play fast, you got to play fast, and you got to practice fast. And George said it too. Every player wants to run until they figure out how much hard work it is to be a runner. You got to work your butt off if you want to run on offense. It's hard. Okay? Practice fast. Let multiple people bring the ball up the floor off of rebounds. Work on your outlets. It's like we talk about. Half our guys aren't from North America, so they have no idea what I talk about. I talk about stealing bases all the time. If you're going to steal second base, you better get a good jump, right? That's the key to stealing second base. The key to playing fast is once you get it, how quickly are you turning and going the other way? Escape dribbles, push outs, throw aheads, sprinting to the corner. Let everybody bring it, or maybe 4 out of 5 guys bring it. That's the fastest way to get it across. And then George hit it on it too. You gotta love attacking the rim, right? You gotta match your first thing, head down, and that's one thing you'll hear me yell during the game. Somebody has it coming across half court, you'll hear me yelling, "Attack the rim!" From way back here, and nothing looks good. Doesn't look that good, but if you put your head down and go hard, and all of a sudden there's some collapse, and now you got them into rotations, and your offense has started. Got to practice it though, getting the ball out of bounds quick, those kind of things. We good? I really appreciate your attention, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much.
Hey guys, thank you very much for coming. We're always trying to improve this event. Your participation certainly helps. We had a terrific lineup of people today. We're always interested in feedback after this, things that you're looking for, some of the areas that maybe we haven't covered. I know we do a lot of basketball for players. We have to have a moment where we can also help the coaches grow a little bit, find nuances, things that you can take back with you and help you at your craft. So we're always open to new ideas, suggestions, formats. We're trying to get better ourselves, so we can't do it without your help. All right, but we greatly appreciate it. Rick Carlisle, who's always an all-star and certainly a Hall of Famer in my mind, he's always helped. David Volk, where's David at? Outside, but he's the Coaches Association is very generous with us. They help support all we do. They get out information. We can't do this without them. Obviously, the NBA, I say that willingly. We love the NBA. They're also a big part of what we certainly are allowed to do here. And guys, thank you very much. We got games in a little bit over here, so we want to make sure you get going there.